How's it going, everybody? It's Prod here and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Dark Souls Remastered. At this point we're only a couple days away. At the time of making this video it's actually Tuesday, so on Friday it's going to be the full release, and just in case you guys don't already know, I will be playing it the night right when it comes out. I think it's at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be streaming it, so if you want to watch my first playthrough, be sure to check out the link in the description for my Twitch channel. So likes and dislikes so far from the game. You know, obviously the full game hasn't come out, but we did get to play the network test. I played it for about 7-8 hours, somewhere around there. And so far people have been saying, you know, it's just the network test, it's not the full game. Yeah, it is the full game, guys. If you thought that what we were getting in the network test is going to be completely different, this is indeed what we're going to be getting. Pretty much all they're testing in the network test is, well, the network, the online play. Obviously, that's why you couldn't play offline when playing the network test. I try not to be super nitpicky about the likes and dislikes, but here are some of my favorite and least favorite things so far going into it. I guess kind of like a PvP casual. I played the PvE, it's my favorite in the Souls series, but when I played the network test, that was literally the first time that I played PvP for Dark Souls. So let's start off with a like. The graphics. To be honest, as somebody who's always played on console, the graphics so far compared to the original Xbox 360 version and just the way it runs in general, way better. Now, it's not a massive improvement, you know, it's not a giant leap in a graphical update, but as somebody who always played on the 360 version, I think that it looks way better than the original 360 version. If you played on PC primarily, most likely you didn't really see much of a difference. I wish they would have done more, you know, Dark Souls 3 assets for different items, characters, but there's not really much you can ask for, right? I mean, it's not like I'm paying $40. So probably my biggest dislike right off the bat is the motion blur that the game has. If you played the game and you watch the game, it has this horrible motion blur. I don't know why it's in the game. It doesn't make the game look better. Maybe they're trying to make it look better than it actually does look because they think, oh, there's blur there. That means that they haven't rendered in because the graphics are just good. That's how people talk. And there is no option to turn it off. There is no option. There was no option in the network test, and I'm about 99.8% sure there's not going to be an option to turn it off in the actual full release. Because again, it is the full game. Maybe in PC, somehow they'll be able to remove it, because you can fucking do anything on PC apparently. But I do not like the way it looks. I hope that maybe they put out a day one patch that has it. Maybe they were listening to people's feedback. They saw that people don't like it and somehow they can patch it out. And that honestly might be like the biggest like new dislike that people have from the new game. Another like that I have, and if you couldn't tell, I'm just kind of going back and forth here. I don't have too many of either, so I did kind of try to have even on both sides. While playing the network test, the game actually did feel really smooth, apart from a couple of places where it just kind of stuttered a little bit and it was kind of laggy a bit here and there. For the most part, when actually like just running through the game, killing enemies, the game felt really smooth, way smoother than it did feel when I played on the console version. Obviously, we're getting 60 frames per second on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, whereas the 360 and PS4 version before were locked at 30 frames per second, a lot of times even struggling getting that. So just playing it felt great. Another dislike, you've probably heard it 1.5 billion times by now, but oh, the backstabs. No change at all in how the backstabs work. No change in how often it happens, how easy it is to do consistently with chain backstabs. I didn't really know much about it, but literally looking for 5 minutes on YouTube, I immediately know how to do it. It's not going to be hard to learn how to do, but the thing is, along with keeping the backstabs, they did also remove some stuff. I believe they did remove some stuff that makes it easier to get out of the backstabs. Now, this isn't really the job, I think, of the people making the remaster. You know, they're not going to change such a difficult mechanic. Like, that's probably deeply, deeply embedded into the gameplay. The only people who could probably do that is From Software, if they were the ones that did the remaster, but as we know, they didn't. People say From Software and Miyazaki is lazy for the remaster. Just remember, guys, they had absolutely nothing to do with the remaster. They're busy making 3 different individual games. A new one that's probably going to come out sometime next year. So don't put the blame on them, but I feel like it's also unfair to put the blame on the guys who are making the remaster, who did make the remaster, excuse me. I think that it is something that you just can't fix. As somebody who was tasked with improving the game's quality and how it plays, the frame rate, how it looks, and maybe a couple assets here and there, there's not really much you can do about backstab, such a core game mechanic. But it still fucking sucks that it's in there. Now, another thing that I do like that we didn't really get to experience so far or really see, but I believe I heard this when they were doing the live stream for PvE, you know, the one where Ouroboros was there and fighting Cowboy and Lobos. I think they talked about this, but I believe we are going to be able to play in 4K. I mean, it is upscaled 4K. It probably won't look much better. Maybe it'll run a little bit smoother on the Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro, but I'm pretty interested to see how that's gonna look. I believe that on PC you can get that, but I've heard even with the, you know, like Dark Souls fix and a really powerful computer, having 4K and like steady 60 frames per second is pretty tough, just because it's not how the game was made when it originally came out. There's an interesting video by Digital Foundry who compared, I guess, basically, you know, current Blighttown, the way we're getting it in Dark Souls Remastered, to like even the PC version with Dark Souls fix. And right there you can see, you know, the improvements they've made in just that area alone. I'm interested to see some of the later areas that get kind of choppy. For example, when you're fighting that freaking big Hydra and he's shooting the water at you. I remember playing it, and I remember the water effects looking horrible when they hit your screen and it chugging like crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see some of those other problematic areas. But from watching just the Digital Foundry video alone, I can see that Dark Souls Remastered was something that had to be made for it to be like steady 60 frames per second. 1080p, 4K, and running as smoothly as it does. Next up is another dislike. Now this one, similar to the backstabs, I feel is pretty hard to change. Probably easier to do than the backstabs, but the omnidirectional rolling. It felt just annoying while playing it. I'm so used to Dark Souls 3's omnidirectional rolling while locked on, of course, because when you're locked off you could do omnidirectional rolling. And in Dark Souls, if you're playing PvP, a lot of people are most likely going to end up going back and forth between being locked on and locked off. That's just, you know, a way to play better and improve. Makes for easier backstabs, running away easier. But while locked on and just being able to roll in 4 directions, man, it just felt really kind of clunky and annoying. It's going to be annoying definitely to get used to. But again, it's a game mechanic that would probably be hard to change, because you would most likely also had to change the AI in the game, you know, enemies, the way they react would be easier than backstabs, but nope. Like instant invasions, man, those were fucking fun. It wasn't just one area, which leads me to believe when the full game comes out it might be a little bit harder, but I feel like for the first month at least, we're going to get solid instant invasions all the time in pretty much 90% of the areas. At this point, 2 years into Dark Souls 3, I'm used to only getting invasions and instant invasions in Gank City, and maybe the Ring City occasionally from like 4 p.m. to 5:35 p.m. But it's going to be fun as hell to invade some of those other areas once the full game comes out. Dislike. The covenants were broken in the network test. Now, again, they were just barely testing out the network and the online play during the network test to see kind of how it worked and how it could handle it, and it didn't really do a great job. One of the bigger covenants that was in the network test was the Gravelord Covenant. I saw it on for about an hour, and then they immediately removed it from the game because it was making the game crash. That's kind of bad news, man. Like, it wasn't that far away. It was, what, a week ago? 2 weeks ago? The game being 2 weeks away, and one of the big major covenants for invading the Gravelord Covenant, breaking the game and basically making it crash. I hope that they get it fixed. I hope that they work on day one, because during the network test, they basically had to remove it altogether. Another like. Boy, oh boy, it's good to have poise again. Dark Souls 2 had poise. Could be a little bit annoying in that game. It's even worse in Dark Souls 1, but not being able to get staggered by a dagger when having full Havel's armor or a straight sword, it's going to be pretty damn fun. I do enjoy the hyper armor system that is in Dark Souls 3. I think it's done well, but I also feel it doesn't work a lot of the times. There's some times where you're 90% done with your attack in that game, and then you get hit by something and it still staggers you out of it when it's not supposed to, even with heavy armor. Even playing just the network test, when I would use something like a straight sword and then I would run into a guy using a, full Black Knight set along with like the Black Knight sword, every time that I would hit him, it just wouldn't stagger him. I would have to hit him like 3 times to stagger him, twice to stagger him. All his hits would just go right through me, stagger me immediately because I was the naked man. I'm not really used to that being a Dark Souls 3 casual, even though I know there's going to be very little variety nowadays with armor. You're going to be seeing a lot of giant dads, a lot of unoriginal giant dads. It'll still be cool to have that mechanic be a integral part of PvP now, or I should say again. So I have 2 more likes and 1 dislike. One of the likes is the ability to heal as an invader. Also, no more using of humanities to heal for either the invader or the host or their phantoms. The phantom is going to get the same amount, which is like halved of the maximum that they have. So if they have like the max Estus, they're going to get like 5 or 6. Pretty much the Dark Souls 3 system. I like that way more than having 99 humanities. Even as an invader, it could be useful to have all of those humanities, but sometimes those invasions can last a while. This is going to prevent that. This is going to make them shorter. But I did also see the argument that it might make people play more passive, might make them hide more. I hope that's not the case, but it should be a lot of fun. And also, the ability to summon multiple people as a host. I would probably put that on my dislike list because you can summon up to 4 fucking people nowadays. In the network test, I didn't run into many, but I did run into a couple 4-man gang squads. It wasn't too hard to deal with them, mainly because of the backstabs, and the people you were running into were using shittier weapons than the Black Knight sword. Someone would hit you with that Sunlight straight sword, it would do about 1/10 your health, and then you 2-shot them with your Black Knight sword. It wasn't too hard to deal with them, but when the full game comes out and you have 4 Black Knight swords and you're the one using the straight sword, oh, I think I just had a heart attack. It's probably just a tumor. And along with the host having 4 people, as an invader now you can get 1 teammate. That's really good. It's going to make things easier, especially with how overpowered some builds can be in Dark Souls 1. Having that 1 teammate is either going to be useful to give you a heal, and I'm having a hard time remembering now, but I believe the invaders can hit themselves, which, again, man, why is that still an option? Why is that a thing still? Why did they make the invaders hit each other? We're on the same side, but no, you can still hit each other when you have 4 people that you have to deal with. You have to worry about them and your teammates, and knowing my luck, I'm the one that's always getting hit by my teammates. It's definitely going to make dealing with, some of those bigger ganks a lot easier. The only problem is, I did see it not happening often. I think it happened 5 or 6 times during my 8 hours of invading in the network test. Again, the online could have been a little bit broken, but that's not often at all. I hope that it does happen more. It most likely will, especially when we're all concentrated in one area, probably the forest, and we're all invading there. You're going to be seeing a lot of 2v4 gank invasions, which are probably going to be a lot of fun. Because the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, and the funnest when it comes to invasions in Dark Souls 3, is those big invasion wars where it's 3 versus 3 in Gank City. And it's just an all-out war. And it'll be interesting as hell in this game when having poise and some crazy overpowered builds as well. But that's pretty much it for my likes and dislikes, man. I had more in my head. I got some ideas from you guys as well. But I didn't really want to be too nitpicky with the dislikes. I feel like a lot of people have spoken about their dislikes about this game for 6 years, and you don't really need somebody like me coming and talking more about it. I'm still excited about the game, like I've said. The network test made me even more excited for Dark Souls Remastered, and at this point it's only a couple days away. I can't wait to get into the arena, try out the arena, which I should have probably added to my likes, but we haven't seen it yet. It'll probably take me a little while to, you know, get into the groove of things for that game and actually get good, even though it never happened for Dark Souls 3. I will actually be trying to get better at this game rather than just playing it to play it and just run in there like an idiot, never really look up any tactics or builds or anything like that. I want this to be a game that I actually get decent at least hopefully. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did make it this far, a like is very much appreciated. It helps out the channel a bunch. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace, everybody.